caught her off guard, right in the middle of her secret hotel rendezvous. I handed her the divorce papers. That was the exact moment everything changed. Hey everyone, I hope you're hanging in there. What I'm about to share is a wild and emotionally tangled story, and I appreciate your patience as I piece this together. Yes, I'm typing this out on my phone and my hands are still shaking a bit. Honestly, I've hit my breaking point and feel completely lost trying to make sense of the chaos. Let me start by giving a little context. I'm 43 years old and my wife, whom I'll call S, is 40. We've been married for 16 years and have two amazing children, a 14-year-old daughter and a 9-year-old son. In the early days, our relationship was anything but easy. We fought, we struggled, and we had our fair share of growing pains. We married young, and like many couples, we didn't yet have the emotional maturity to handle everything life threw at us. But despite the storms, we held on to each other, believing that love could carry us through any obstacle. And for a while, it did. S has been working as a high-level manager at a major advertising agency for the past 3 years, while I've been in engineering for 7. Our careers paid well and allowed us to build a solid lifestyle. We weren't just surviving, we were thriving. As parents, we were deeply involved in our children's lives. School events, birthday parties, weekend adventures. Nothing was too small or too big for us to be there. I took pride in being a devoted father and what I thought was a loving husband. I'm not perfect, of course. I've made mistakes over the years, especially in how I communicated with my wife, but I truly went above and beyond to make her happy. So, you can probably imagine how devastating it was when I uncovered that she'd been carrying on a long-term affair. That revelation shattered everything I believed about us. It didn't happen all at once. Looking back, the signs were there. Over the last 2 years, things had begun to shift. Her warmth had slowly cooled into distance. She was constantly irritable, detached, and often looked at me like I was the root of all her frustrations. Whenever I tried to do something thoughtful or romantic, it was never enough. Worse, she constantly compared me to her boss. He knows how to take initiative, she'd say. He does romantic getaways with his wife. Why can't you be more like him? Those comments stung. They made me feel small and inadequate. I asked her what I could do to rekindle the spark in our marriage. Her response was always vague and dismissive. If you don't already know, then that's part of the problem. I didn't want to give up. I started reading relationship books, searching for guidance, anything that could help me figure out how to bring us back together. But every effort was met with either tepid appreciation or cold indifference. It was as if my very presence annoyed her. She'd never been like this before. In all our years together, I'd never seen her so emotionally unavailable. I assumed, foolishly, that the issue was me, that I just needed to do more, be more. We were close with her boss and his family. They had kids too, and all our children got along great. We hosted them for backyard barbecues, took family trips to amusement parks, and even had Sunday game days together. They'd been to our home so many times, and we to theirs, that it felt like a second family. I used to talk to her boss about our relationship struggles, thinking he was just offering friendly advice. In hindsight, I now see that he was probably collecting intel and manipulating the situation the entire time. Then one night, everything started to unravel. We were in bed and she was curled up beside me, laughing and texting someone incessantly. Curious, I leaned over to glance at the screen. She yanked the phone away like a teenager hiding something from their parent. Her mood flipped instantly. She snapped at me, her face contorted with anger. "What are you doing?" she demanded. I asked, "Just wondering what's so funny." "Who are you texting?" Her response chilled me. "It's none of your business." And with that, she marched off to the bathroom, locking the door behind her. That moment is seared into my memory. It was the first time I truly felt that she was keeping a part of her life hidden from me. Still, I didn't have solid proof. So I asked her directly the next day, hoping honesty would win out. Instead, she exploded with indignation and denial. She flat out refused to show me her phone. Eventually, later that evening, she relented and let me see it, but only after deleting almost every message. I could tell entire conversations had been erased. Some threads were cut off mid-sentence, while others made absolutely no sense. She thought she'd covered her tracks, but the inconsistencies were obvious. I gave her the phone back without pushing further. But I didn't forget. A month later, I enlisted a friend who's a tech whiz to help recover deleted texts. What he found was chilling. Turns out she'd gotten a second phone, one I never knew existed, and barely used the one she showed me. Still, he managed to recover fragments of messages, enough to piece together what was really happening. And yes, it was exactly who I feared. Her boss. The same man I had trusted with my marriage secrets. I wanted to confront her right then, to throw everything on the table and demand answers. But I didn't. Not yet. I needed time. I needed a plan. I needed to protect my kids. I was drowning in anxiety and grief, crying in front of my friend like a broken man. Still, some part of me held on to hope. I didn't want to lose my family. I didn't want my kids to grow up in a broken home. So, I went out and bought a book titled, How to Help Your Spouse Heal from an Affair. I know, it sounds pathetic, but I was desperate. I started reading it immediately and thought, maybe, just maybe, if I handed it to her and asked for one last chance, we could rebuild. I had it all planned out. I'd speak to her that Saturday, pour my heart out, and ask her to choose us. But life had other plans. She came home that evening and said there was a work emergency. She wouldn't be back until late. Don't wait up, she said. On the day she claimed there was a work emergency, something didn't sit right with me. Call it gut instinct, but I couldn't just let it go. So I picked up the phone and called her workplace to verify her story. No answer, not even a voicemail. That's when it hit me. They don't operate on Saturdays. It was a dead end, and my suspicions grew heavier by the second. I tried calling her several times throughout the evening, but each call rang out, unanswered. No texts, no callbacks, nothing, just silence. She didn't walk through the front door until 2:00 a.m. Sunday morning. As soon as she stepped inside, she went straight for the bathroom. The first thing she did was shower. No greeting, no explanation, just straight into the bathroom like she needed to wash something away. When she finally crawled into bed beside me, I asked her plainly why she was home so late. Her response? A cold, dismissive reminder that she had already told me not to wait up. No elaboration, no attempt to reassure me. I was fuming inside. That night I had planned to talk to her about the affair, to beg her to end it, and maybe, just maybe, find a way back to each other. But after watching her walk in, so indifferent to the pain she had caused, I didn't hand her the book I'd bought. I kept it tucked away, unread and useless. I was breaking inside, a storm of emotions raging through me, and she didn't care. She saw me unraveling, and it didn't move her. That's when I reached out to someone I never imagined I would. Her boss's wife. Yes, I was that desperate. Desperate for clarity, desperate for truth, desperate for even a shred of stability. And to this day, I don't regret that decision, not for a second. She answered my call, and within moments I could tell that something wasn't right on her end either. I asked her carefully, cautiously, if she had any idea what was going on between our spouses. There was a long pause, and then she whispered, "No. But now, I'm scared." When I told her what I suspected, she was absolutely stunned, heartbroken, furious, and more than anything, ready to take action. She said she wanted to confront her husband immediately, but I stopped her. I told her he would probably lie through his teeth and become even more secretive, just like my wife had done. If we wanted to get real answers, we had to be strategic. So we met, in person, at her home. It was awkward and painful at first, sitting across from a woman I barely knew, bound together by betrayal. I showed her the bits and pieces of evidence I had, text fragments, suspicious behavior, the recovered messages. She believed me, but we both knew it wasn't enough. Not yet. Together, we made a pact. We would dig deeper. She would monitor her husband, and I would do the same with my wife. We'd gather everything we could, cross-check the information, and expose the affair with absolute certainty. It didn't take long. Her husband, arrogant to the core, hadn't even bothered to delete his texts. Every message between him and my wife was still on his phone, plain as day. The conversations were explicit, shameless, and deeply incriminating. All those little clues I had collected suddenly clicked into place. The timelines, the secrecy, the behavior, it all added up. The affair had been going on for 2 years. 2 years. The boss's wife was livid, so was I. What made it even more gut-wrenching was discovering the locations where they had been together. They used hotels, of course, fancy ones. They'd met up during business trips, but what broke me was learning they'd also used our homes, my house, her house. The very places where our children slept, where memories were made, were desecrated by their betrayal. They exchanged explicit photos, messages dripping with desire and delusion. But we chose not to look at the images. We didn't need to burn those images into our minds. We already had enough scars. Revenge crossed our minds, of course, but not in the form of another affair. We didn't want to stoop to their level. We weren't going to fix infidelity with more infidelity. Instead, we chose another path, one that would leave a lasting impact. We each contacted divorce attorneys and started drafting papers, quietly, deliberately. Our spouses were completely unaware that we knew. We played our roles perfectly, never letting on that their little fantasy world was about to come crashing down. Once we had everything in place, our ducks in a row, as they say, we waited for their next tryst. And sure enough, they planned a weekend getaway. A hotel reservation popped up, the same routine, another rendezvous. But this time, we knew everything. We coordinated the final blow. I personally went to the hotel, sheriff by my side, and waited calmly in the lobby. My heart was pounding, but my face remained stone still. When everything was ready, the sheriff asked the front desk to call her room. She came down moments later, dressed in a white bathrobe, looking startled and unprepared. Her eyes widened when she saw me standing there. Panic took over her face. "What are you doing here?" she gasped. The sheriff stepped forward, asked for her name, and confirmed her identity. And then she was served. There was something deeply satisfying about watching her reaction. The shock, the disbelief, the realization. But I didn't gloat. I didn't say a word. I turned to walk away, job done. She grabbed my arm. "Wait, what is this? What's happening?" she cried. I looked her in the eyes and said, "You had an affair. I'm leaving you. That's all there is to it." She erupted, trying to yank me back, tears pouring down her face. "You've got it all wrong. Let me explain." The sheriff stepped in, told her to release me, and she reluctantly did. I walked out of that hotel and didn't look back. Her boss, he got his own surprise. Served at his house, moments after she called him in a panic. We made sure they were both blindsided, just as they had done to us. Now the divorce is in motion. Mine will be finalized in a couple of months. Hers is moving slower. He's dragging his feet, apparently. Neither of them wants a divorce now. The excuses? Ridiculous. It was just sex. We never meant to leave our spouses. We made a mistake. People come back from worse. They say they want to fix it. They want to go back to their lives. But I told my wife flat out, "You're sorry you got caught. That's all I need to know." She keeps saying she acted out of character, that she wasn't herself, that she regrets it. But the damage is done. People around me call me cruel for refusing to give her another chance. Even my kids, whom I've explained everything to in an age-appropriate way, wish we could stay together. But they support me. They know I didn't break this family, she did. What makes it harder is that we still live in the same house. For now. She's going to therapy. She's reading the book I never gave her. She says she'll do anything to make it right. But all I see is a woman who regrets getting caught, not a woman who would have stopped on her own. She called me bitter, said I was drowning in resentment. She apologized for it later, but the words had already done their damage. I still talk to her boss's wife. My wife hates that. Thinks I'm plotting revenge, thinks maybe I'll end up with her, but that's not what this is about. I've made up my mind. I will not be giving us another chance. My wife has begged me repeatedly to cut off all contact with her former boss's wife, mirroring the no-contact approach she adopted with him. But I told her flatly that she was out of her mind. We didn't do anything wrong. I have nothing to be ashamed of. Why should I honor her wishes now, after everything she's put me through? At this point, I think it's safe to say I'm done. My respect for her has evaporated. She continues to cling to the hope that we can work things out, often bringing up her thought processes and emotional rationale behind the affair. But all I hear are excuses. Excuses she wraps in remorse and self-reflection, hoping I'll bite. I don't. I refuse to entertain it. She's asked me to join her in therapy sessions, couples counseling, saying it might help us rebuild. But I've read too many horror stories where therapists subtly or directly shifted blame onto the betrayed spouse. I'm not signing up for that. So, I said no. She even wants us to read relationship recovery books together. What's the point? I asked her. We're headed for divorce. What will reading books do now that the trust is gone? Her latest request was perhaps the most absurd. She tried to initiate intimacy, saying it wasn't about manipulation, but a way to show her love. I shut it down immediately. I told her point blank that I will not be manipulated by physical affection. She argued back, saying it wasn't manipulation, that she just wanted to feel close again, to prove that she still loves me. I corrected her. You mean you love me now? Even my inner circle has started pressuring me. Friends, extended family, and yes, even my own mother, have questioned whether I'm being too harsh. They say people make mistakes, and point out how she seems to have realized through this affair that she truly loves me. But I can't ignore the simple, brutal truth. I was her backup plan. I refuse to be anyone's fallback option. Despite my firm stance, I'll admit there's a whirlwind of emotions inside me. I feel guilty for how coldly I treat her sometimes. I still love her. That love hasn't vanished completely, though it's now intertwined with resentment and pain. It's a conflicted, exhausting space to live in. Am I being unnecessarily cruel? That question haunts me more than I'd like to admit. She's been trying really hard. Therapy, apologies, even quitting her job to escape her past. But no matter how hard she works, I just don't care anymore. The damage has been done. The foundation has crumbled. People tell me I'm rushing the divorce, that I'll regret making such a final decision while emotions are still raw. And maybe they're right. I honestly don't know what's real anymore. My compass has been spinning ever since I learned the truth. To everyone who's reached out, thank you. Your messages, support, and advice have helped tremendously. Some of your insights touched on things I hadn't even considered. I'm about to sit down and have yet another conversation with my wife. I don't know where it will lead, but I do know this. For now, divorce still feels like the best option for me and for our kids. Now, a bit of an update for those who've been following along. We're in an odd sort of limbo right now, not because we're getting back together, we're not. The divorce is still in motion, but things between us have become civil. We're functioning, coexisting. Maybe it's because the end is in sight and we're emotionally spent. Or maybe it's because we've both accepted what's coming. My wife is still pleading for another chance. She's doing everything she can to prove she's changed, but I won't budge. Her affair wasn't a mistake. It was a conscious, sustained betrayal that stretched over 2 years. If it had been a one-night lapse in judgment, maybe there'd be a path to forgiveness. But 2 years? That's deliberate, that's calculated. And I can't move past it. I agreed to attend a few therapy sessions with her, not because I wanted to save the marriage, but because I wanted to better understand her mental state and give her a chance to say what she needed to say. The first session went surprisingly well. It gave me a clearer picture of her remorse, which I'll admit seems genuine. She hasn't been flawless in dealing with the aftermath, but she is trying in her own way to fix what she broke. The second session was a disaster. She was furious that I was still in contact with her boss's wife. She accused me of nurturing a revenge affair, projecting her own fears onto me. I lost my temper more than I ever have during this entire ordeal. We fought hard that night. She cried, I yelled. And yet, we came out of it with some clarity. I promised her, no revenge affair. As long as we're legally married, I will uphold the basic dignity of our vows, even if the spirit of them is already gone. I don't owe her anything anymore, but I still want to leave this marriage with my integrity intact. I've attended a few more therapy sessions with her, but only to observe. I want to see if she's truly changing or just going through the motions. The moment the divorce is finalized, I plan to step away entirely. Her boss's wife? She's still set on leaving her husband who, just like my wife, is fighting the divorce tooth and nail. But she's resolute, as am I. We lean on each other emotionally from time to time, sharing thoughts on bad days, offering support. There's nothing romantic there, just mutual understanding between two people who had their lives upended by the same betrayal. And she's strong, fierce even. She doesn't take crap from anyone and has handled this ordeal with grace and resolve. As for the kid, they're doing okay. They understand in an age-appropriate way that this divorce isn't about love lost between them and their parents. We still love them, endlessly. They wish we could stay together, sure, but they see why that's no longer possible. And I'm proud of how resilient they've been through all of this. My wife no longer works at the ad agency. She resigned shortly after the divorce papers were served. She's been strict about her no-contact rule with her former boss, which she claims she's maintained from day one of the fallout. According to her, she's been reaching out on forums and reading everything she can about healing from infidelity. She's been following advice and trying to implement it. And to be completely honest, part of me sees the appeal in her efforts. She's not evil. She's human, deeply flawed, yes, but not irredeemable. She made horrific choices and is now living with the consequences. I see her trying to be a better person, and I understand why some people choose to reconcile in situations like this. But for me, that door is closed. She's offered me everything: therapy, shared books, intimacy, reconciliation, even a post-divorce trial period of dating again. And maybe all of that would mean something to someone else, but for me, it's too late. Every step closer to finalizing this divorce brings me peace, and peace is something I haven't had in years. To be honest, I wasn't completely against the idea of reconciliation at one point. Somewhere deep inside me, buried beneath the bitterness and betrayal, there was a small part of me that still hoped. But even if I were to consider it, it would be an incredibly long and painful road, one she would have to walk with unwavering sincerity and resilience. She seems willing, sure, But every time I try to picture what that journey would look like, I can't help but ask, who would it really benefit? The answer I keep coming back to is no one. The more I reflect on this, the more it feels like the only sense of justice I'll ever get. That's what this divorce represents to me. Not revenge, not spite, but justice. The only kind that doesn't involve sinking to the level of an adulterer. For someone like me, who refuses to compromise his integrity, this is the cleanest exit I can take. My mom and I had a bit of a falling out when she first heard about the divorce. She urged me to reconsider, said that people make mistakes, and that perhaps my wife truly realized what she had lost. But when I shared more details, just how long the affair lasted, how calculated it was, the emotional cruelty I endured, her stance shifted. Now she's absolutely livid with my wife. And I don't know how to manage that relationship anymore either. Speaking of rage, I didn't plan to write anything else until the divorce was finalized. But today, I'm just angry. I need to get this out. I need a place to vent. Because this pressure has been building for weeks. You see, my wife is still terrified that I'll have a revenge affair, and not just with anyone, with the other betrayed spouse. The very woman she betrayed, just like me. Her fear is understandable. The woman is younger, drop-dead gorgeous, and owns a thriving business. She's the kind of person who radiates confidence and grace, and that makes my wife feel completely inferior. Every time I tell her I'm going to visit, her face falls. She grows either visibly anxious or dangerously clingy. She throws herself at me, desperate for reassurance, desperate for intimacy. But I reject her advances every time. I won't be manipulated, and I won't give her what she wants just because she's afraid of her own reflection. What really gets me is the hypocrisy. She, of all people, has the nerve to lecture me about how two wrongs don't make a right, and while I agree with that in principle, I have no intention of being unfaithful. I'm also floored by how self-centered that mindset is. She's thinking about her own pain, her own fear, her own regrets. Meanwhile, I'm the one picking up the shattered pieces of a life I didn't ask to break. Even though my visits to the other betrayed spouse are always with my kids, never alone, never behind closed doors, my wife's paranoia is relentless. She imagines secret meetings, intimate conversations, betrayal layered upon betrayal. And yet, she's the one who created this hell. The man she cheated with, her boss, is still holed up in their vacation home, apparently begging his wife to take him back. I won't lie, watching him squirm does bring me a bit of satisfaction. He hasn't dared confront me, probably because he knows the leverage I hold. He's aware I still speak with his wife, that I could ruin what little reputation he has left. So he tiptoes around, making sure I'm nowhere near when he visits the kids. As for my wife, she's been overly apologetic these days, showering me with affection, compliments, and declarations of love. I brush it off. I don't have the emotional bandwidth for it anymore. I'm not in a good place, and today we have another therapy session. I feel like unleashing everything. Years of pain, humiliation, and rage. It's building inside me, and I'm not sure how much longer I can hold it together. One small update, not much has changed in a concrete sense, but I've spent more time reflecting. I've been revisiting my old posts, and the messages so many of you have sent. I cannot express enough how valuable it's been to feel supported, understood. Reading other people's stories of infidelity has helped me understand the broader spectrum of pain and healing. It's opened my eyes to the complexity of all of this. In our latest session, my wife asked for more time to prove herself, more time to win me back. She said she wasn't asking for full reconciliation, just a chance to start the recovery process, to show me what she could be if given the opportunity. But I reminded her, she's only trying now because her fantasy blew up in her face. If she were still with him, none of this effort would exist. That's what breaks me. She emotionally abused me for months, and now she wants me to pretend like it never happened? To her credit, she did acknowledge that. She apologized again and again, swearing that she would spend every day for the rest of her life making amends. She wants our marriage to come out stronger on the other side. She believes it's possible. I asked her a pointed question. Are you willing to withstand my rage? Because I have plenty to share. Without hesitation, she said yes. She even encouraged me to let it out whenever I needed to. She said if it would help me heal, she could take it. Usually when I ask why she had the affair, I get an endless stream of excuses. Not this time. This time she looked me in the eyes and said, "There's no excuse. What she did was unforgivable, and she would spend the rest of her life trying to atone for it." She confessed that the affair had nothing to do with love. It was about ego, validation, and feeling attractive. She felt invisible at home, jealous of the other betrayed spouse, and wanted to feel wanted. It was a fantasy, she admitted. One that made her feel powerful and beautiful. But it wasn't real. It was temporary. And now she's left with the wreckage. If you don't return, then she told me she'll live with the guilt forever, that she'll probably never forgive herself, that she knows she can never compare to the other woman, not in appearance, not in success, not in character. And maybe that's why she's still so desperate, because she knows what she lost, and she knows it was her own doing. But none of that changes where I stand. This story doesn't end in forgiveness, it ends in peace, mine. To clarify something many people asked me about, why I was spending time with the other betrayed spouse. The truth is, she's not only strikingly beautiful but a woman of remarkable integrity. Never once did she say anything cruel to my wife. Never once did she make threats or use emotional manipulation. Every suspicion my wife had about her stemmed entirely from her own insecurities, fueled perhaps by the realization that she had betrayed me, while someone far more dignified supported me through the aftermath. Maybe my lingering anger had something to do with it too. After all, I was furious at my wife for everything she put me through, and the contrast between her and the other betrayed spouse made that resentment even sharper. Then things took an interesting turn during therapy. The therapist asked a question that threw me. What would it take for you to even consider your wife's proposal, to reconcile? I sat there dumbfounded because nothing came to mind. I answered her as honestly as I could. A time machine. That's it. That's the only thing that would make any of this even remotely acceptable. I told her flat out that the marriage I'm in now is nothing but a hollow shell of what it once was. A sham, a parody of what we once had. I never signed up for this. The therapist responded by saying that every marriage eventually faces monumental challenges, some as extreme as infidelity, others like illness or death. But, she said, it's how couples navigate those storms that defines the strength of their bond. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I told the therapist she needed to focus on my wife, not on us, because this was not a joint failure. This was one person detonating a bomb and the other trying to crawl out from under the rubble. But she wasn't entirely wrong either, and when she suggested that my refusal to engage in logical dialogue might hinder communication, I didn't argue. She had a point. Later, during the drive home, my wife asked a question she'd never dared ask before. Do you feel emasculated by the affair? It hit me hard. I didn't expect her to go there, and I answered truthfully, yes, I did. Deeply. Then she surprised me again. She asked if I would feel better, more empowered, more like myself, if I slept with another woman. I told her absolutely not. I'm not interested in revenge sex. I never have been. But she pressed on. She explained that she was talking about a trial separation, where I would be free to date other people, while she remained faithful and waited patiently for me to decide if I wanted to return. I thought she'd already hit rock bottom in desperation, but this new idea, this was something else entirely. I asked her, how in the world would that benefit our marriage? How would encouraging more separation, more emotional entanglement with others, possibly help us heal? Her response floored me. She said, it wouldn't be cheating. We'd be separated. There would be ground rules. Then she added, we're getting divorced anyway. This might give you clarity, help you see what the outside world has to offer. I rejected the idea instantly. It wasn't just illogical, it was surreal. My wife has been oddly calm and composed these past few weeks, almost eerily so. She's a completely different person from the insecure, volatile woman I confronted just months ago. But I remind myself constantly, don't trust it. This might be another phase in her coping cycle. I can't afford to forget the lies, the secrecy, the emotional torture. What makes everything harder is how generous she's been during the divorce. Too generous, honestly. I've read so many horror stories about divorces turning ugly, vindictive, and cruel. But ours? It's been civil. Strangely civil. She's offered more than her fair share, and even insists I should come out slightly ahead because I was, in her words, a great husband and father. Part of me wonders if it's all a tactic, a ploy to win me back, but another part wonders if she truly is trying to make amends, the only way she knows how. That said, I decided to stop going to therapy with her. I realized it was only feeding false hope. Each session made her believe reconciliation was within reach, and I couldn't let that continue. She's confessed that the desire for intimacy hasn't gone away. In fact, it's become stronger. She's constantly trying to initiate sex, claiming it's not about getting back together, it's about helping me feel desired, restoring a part of me she destroyed. Ironically, my wife was never one to initiate much in the bedroom before all this. But now? Now she throws herself at me like her life depends on it. At first, it angered me. Then I started to understand. She saw my emasculation, and this was her way of addressing it. Still, I couldn't accept it. I rejected her each time. I also decided to pause my contact with the other betrayed spouse. Things had started to become complicated. Someone online pointed out that it looked like a revenge affair, and while I initially brushed it off, their words lingered. Eventually, the other betrayed spouse confessed that she wanted to explore a possible relationship. She said she'd wait until my divorce was finalized, that she respected my boundaries, but she wanted more. I didn't know what to say. I was confused, caught off guard. So we agreed to take a step back. A break, until the dust settles. She's a remarkable woman, but I don't know if I can return her feelings. Not yet, maybe not ever. And I worry that my presence in her life might be hurting her chances at closure or even reconciliation with her own husband, if that were ever a possibility. This whole journey has been a twisted, emotionally draining roller coaster. And through it all, my one constant has been this decision to leave, to reclaim my peace, to find some semblance of truth in the wreckage of betrayal. Let me start by making one thing absolutely clear. I had nothing to do with the other betrayed spouse's decision to leave her husband. That was her choice, made on her own terms. She walked away from that relationship because she was finished with the lies, the betrayal, and the pain. Our conversations have always been respectful. We don't talk down about our spouses when we're together. There's no bitterness in our dialogue, just an honest exchange of support between two people who went through parallel heartbreaks. Recently, the man my wife had an affair with, her former boss, requested to meet me in person. I agreed, mostly out of curiosity. He offered an apology, said the whole ordeal had humbled him, that he'd always been arrogant and now saw things differently. I didn't accept it. Maybe that makes me petty, but I don't care. I don't owe him grace or closure. His remorse means nothing to me. He chose to help destroy my marriage, and for that, I can never forgive him. Now, there's something I've been struggling with internally, and I want to put it out there. Is it wrong for me to want to sleep with my wife, even though we're not reconciling? I won't lie, I miss the intimacy, the connection, that feeling of being wanted, and lately, she's made it extremely hard to resist. She's pulling out all the stops, wearing new lingerie, sending suggestive texts, leaving touching notes, even burning and tossing out anything that ever had a connection to her affair. Without me even asking, she says she wants to create a space where I feel safe again. But I can't help wondering, is this a trap? Am I being emotionally manipulated? Before someone suggests kicking her out of the house, believe me, I tried. But keeping her here until the divorce finalizes is simply less of a hassle. And I do appreciate the peace we've managed to maintain, even if it's awkward. Lately, I've had a realization. For a long time, I thought I'd wasted all these years on a woman who turned out to be unworthy of my love. But that's not entirely true. She gave me great kids. She gave me some good memories too. That's something I'll never forget. I'll always hold on to those, as a man and as a father. Still, I now know I can do better. And I will. I've received an outpouring of advice, messages, and support over these months, and for a while I was clouded by all of it. But now it's finally sunk in. I deserve better than this. Better than someone who threw me aside the second another man gave her attention. She invested herself, her time, her body, her emotions, in someone else. Not once, but over and over again. That wasn't a mistake, that was a choice. Only now, when everything is falling apart, does she start trying. Now she says she wants me to be happy. Now she wants to rekindle the spark in our intimacy. The truth is, our sex life was never amazing, but I appreciated the connection. Now I know just how lackluster it was in comparison to what she was offering him. I've seen just a glimpse of their exchanges, enough to know how wild and passionate they were. Now she wants to give that to me. Now she tries. Now she's motivated. She's offering me space, respecting my boundaries, even encouraging me in everything I do, something she rarely did when we were still married in spirit. She now treats me like the king I always wanted to be in her eyes. But it all feels too little, too late. It's like she had to lose everything just to see what she had. Strangely enough, she's been completely transparent lately. She confesses things even when they're painful, even when they make her look bad. She's brutally honest about her regrets, and I can see it on her face. This constant expression of shame and sorrow. It's become her default look. She's miserable even when she tries to hide it, and sometimes it makes me hate myself, because deep down, I know she really is trying now. But here's the thing, why can't I view this as a good thing? Why can't I recognize the remorse, the effort, and the transformation? Other couples have survived long-term affairs and come out stronger. Why not us? Why does my heart still refuse to see this as an opportunity? People have told me I'm basing my decisions on raw emotion. I need to look at this from a rational, objective place. And maybe they're right. Maybe someone else will benefit from the new and improved version of her. Maybe she really is learning from her mistakes and becoming the woman she was supposed to be all along. Maybe she's ready for a mature, meaningful relationship. But it won't be with me. Because I've made my decision. Disrespect is a deal breaker for me. Maybe I would have overlooked it in the early days of discovery, when I was still confused and heartbroken, but not anymore. I woke up. I stopped lying to myself. I stopped giving her control over my mind, my emotions, and my choices. And that's why this Christmas will be my last with her. One final holiday for the kids, for the memories. After that, I'm closing this chapter completely. I won't date her again. I won't see how things go. We're done. She's not a villain. She's a flawed person who made terrible decisions. I do want her to be happy. I want her to heal. But that journey will happen without me. I'm moving on. Today I called the other betrayed spouse. I asked her if she'd be open to having dinner after the holidays, just as a thank you for being there when I hit rock bottom. She said she'd love to. I know people will speculate, suggest we plotted all this together, that there was some grand plan. But that's not the case. My emotions have been a chaotic mess for years, and the idea of another woman never even crossed my mind until recently. It's just dinner, nothing more, unless we both decide otherwise. As the divorce nears its final stage, I feel more at peace, more grounded. I've been through hell, but I'm still standing. I'm walking into a future I never wanted, but one I'm finally ready for. As the dust began to settle, a strange clarity emerged from the wreckage of my marriage. For the first time in years, I realized I actually had choices. I had options. And one of those options had been in front of me for a while now. Standing quietly, never demanding, always supportive. What about the man my wife had an affair with, her former boss? I couldn't care less. Honestly, I don't give a flying damn about that man or what happens to him. Whatever guilt, remorse, or consequences he faces now, those are his burdens to carry, not mine. My role in this story isn't to forgive him or try to understand him. My role is to rebuild myself. I've thought a lot about marriage lately, and as much as I hate to admit it, I don't see myself ever marrying again. I've come to the conclusion that I gave my best years, my youth, my energy, my emotional availability, to a woman who, in the end, gave me very little in return. Sure, there were good moments. There were even great ones. But those memories are now shadows, cast by years of neglect, betrayal, and heartbreak. And yes, while my divorce wasn't a nightmare legally, it still cost me dearly, financially and emotionally. That's what makes it even more painful. The very concept of marriage now feels like a cruel joke, a hollow promise. I don't say this to offend anyone or diminish the real, lasting love some couples share. But I'm jaded. I won't pretend I'm not. That I'm choosing to move forward. So here's the big news. I'm officially divorced. It's over, legally, emotionally, spiritually. That's enough. It's been almost 3 weeks now, and for the first few days after the final court date, I felt like I'd been hit by a truck. I grieved. I cried. I raged. It was like losing a loved one, except the person I lost was someone I used to wake up next to, someone I used to share dreams with, someone I thought I'd grow old with. No tears I've ever shed matched the ones I shed during that time, not even when I discovered her affair. Those first few days after the divorce were some of the lowest moments of my life. But through it all, I stayed focused on my kids. I helped my ex organize her move for their sake. She's in an apartment now, a significant downgrade from the life we had together, and honestly, it shows. She's miserable, depressed, still going to therapy, still obsessively reading about infidelity and how to recover from it. I don't know why exactly. Maybe she's hoping I'll change my mind. Maybe she wants to fix herself for her own sake. Either way, it's no longer my concern. We've talked, long talks, honest talks, and while we've maintained minimal physical contact, mostly just polite gestures for the kids, there's no future for us. She's still clinging to the idea of reconciliation, but I'm not giving her that gift. It's too risky, too painful, and I'm not willing to take that chance again. On a different note, this past weekend, I went to dinner with the woman I used to call the other betrayed spouse. Our evening started with light conversation, laughter, and a shared sense of relief that our long journeys were coming to a close. We talked about life, our kids, healing, and everything in between. Things got flirty. I resisted it at first, unsure of my emotional footing. But eventually, the mood changed. One thing led to another. And yes, that night ended in a way I didn't expect. To be completely honest, it was one of the most passionate experiences I've ever had. She was incredibly generous, both emotionally and physically. She gave without hesitation, without ego, without games. It wasn't about revenge. It wasn't about filling a void. It was about being seen, appreciated, and desired, for the first time in what felt like forever. No guilt, no shame, no betrayal. It was healing in the strangest, most unexpected way. That night helped mend something inside me, something I thought was permanently broken. It was the first time I truly felt like a man again. Not someone tiptoeing around another person's moods, not someone constantly second-guessing his worth. Just a man, desired and understood. Do I see a future with her? Honestly, I don't know. The wine, the hormones, the relief of finality, maybe it all played a role. She's open to exploring more. I told her I need time to process everything, and she understood. We're not rushing. For now, we're just two people who survived the storm and are trying to find peace in its aftermath. Some people won't like hearing that. Some will say I moved on too fast, or that it's rebound sex. But they're wrong. I didn't cheat. I didn't lie. I didn't lower my morals. I just embraced a moment of clarity, a moment that reminded me what I deserve. Looking back, I'm proud of how I handled this chaos. I wasn't perfect. I made mistakes, but I never let my values slip. I absorbed the advice I was given. I listened. I reflected. I chose healing over destruction. So, what have I learned? Respect yourself. Always. Never accept disrespect, no matter how close the person is to you. Everyone deserves a relationship that is fulfilling emotionally, mentally, and yes, sexually. Don't settle for scraps. If someone gave more effort in an affair than they gave you in your relationship, walk away. Communication is everything. Open, honest, difficult conversations must happen, or the relationship will crumble. If you're ever betrayed, understand that only you can truly heal yourself. Therapists, books, support groups, they help, but the real work is internal. These lessons weren't easy to learn, but I carry them now like armor. To those who've followed my story and offered guidance, empathy, or even just an ear, thank you. You helped me more than you'll ever know. This space, this community, gave me a foundation when everything else had collapsed, and for that I'm endlessly grateful. This is the last time I'll post here. I'm moving on with my life. I don't know where the road leads, but I'm finally free to walk it without chains. Have a great holiday, and if you're in the middle of your own storm, hold on. It gets better. For a long while, I stepped back from anything even remotely related to infidelity. Websites, forums, conversations. I needed the distance. Even now, I still encounter triggers that take me right back to the pain. And I've learned to give myself space when that happens. Healing is far from linear. The trauma doesn't vanish just because the relationship ended. So I stayed away from this space and others like it, hoping the silence would help me move on. But I know many of you have been concerned, those who followed my story from the beginning, who offered advice, encouragement, and tough love when I needed it most. You've checked in, messaged, and asked for updates. So here I am. And the short answer is, I'm okay. No car crashes, no disappearing ex. I'm still in individual counseling, and yes, I'm still with her, the woman I once called the other betrayed spouse. At this point, she's my girlfriend, my partner, and one of the most emotionally grounded people I've ever met. She recently finalized her case with her ex, the man who betrayed her. The child custody and financial agreements are settled, and while she had every reason to go scorched earth, she didn't. She could have made him crawl. Instead, she handled the situation with grace and maturity, showing a strength I deeply admire. European. That doesn't mean everything is perfect, of course. There's still friction, particularly among the kids. The fallout of 2 broken marriages and 2 new relationships was bound to leave some emotional shrapnel. Some of the kids are struggling to adapt. So, we made the decision to start them in therapy. We want to make sure they're given the tools to understand this transition in healthy, age-appropriate ways. We reassure them often, this relationship between me and my girlfriend is about healing and mutual respect, and we'll always prioritize the kids' well-being above all else. Still, it's hard. Not everyone is on board. My daughter, my ex, and her ex can't be in the same room without a visible layer of tension. I'm not exaggerating when I say it's almost palpable. My daughter and my ex's ex-husband seem to view each other as catalysts for everything that went wrong. It's awkward. And no, I haven't figured out how to fully untangle that yet. My ex-wife is a complicated piece of the puzzle. She's still chasing a reconciliation that will never come. I think a big part of her resentment now is aimed at my girlfriend. She sees her as the obstacle, the one person preventing me from coming to my senses. What she refuses to see is that I was already gone long before this relationship began. My girlfriend didn't take me away. She simply found me when I was already lost. Things got particularly weird at a 4th of July party one of my friends hosted. My ex tried something. Let's just say she crossed a boundary I thought had been made clear. I shut it down, though I probably wasn't as forceful as I should have been. That only emboldened her. The rumors were true. She's still pining, and it's getting unhealthy. My girlfriend's patience with her is wearing thin. She's letting me handle it, but I can tell it's grating on her nerves, and honestly, I don't blame her. My ex despises her with every fiber of her being, and she doesn't even hide it. It's a mess. What baffles me the most is the timing. When I gave everything, my time, my loyalty, my love, my ex took me for granted. She dismissed me, compared me to another man, emotionally withdrew, and treated me like an afterthought. But now that I've moved on, now that I've found someone who treats me with respect, she's suddenly doing emotional gymnastics to win me back. It's frustrating, it's confusing, but mostly, it's too late. So there you have it. I'm still standing, I'm still healing, and I'm still moving forward. To give some background for those newer to my story, my ex-wife had an affair that lasted approximately 2 years. During that time, she was emotionally abusive and often compared me unfavorably to the man she was seeing behind my back. Our intimacy declined, and I wrongly assumed all the blame. When I finally uncovered the truth, I didn't have an immediate plan to leave. But the more lies she told and the more excuses she made, the more I realized this marriage was over. I reached out to her affair partner's wife, now my girlfriend, and we began the long and painful process of divorcing our spouses. We disclosed the affair to our children as gently and appropriately as possible. No ugly details, just the basic truth. Mommy broke a promise to Daddy. We reassured them that both of us loved them deeply and always would. It didn't make the news any easier to hear, but it allowed them to process it in a safer emotional frame. My ex continued to push for reconciliation even after the divorce was underway, but I'd already made peace with the fact that our relationship had run its course. I forgave her, not for her, but for myself. I needed to stop carrying that weight. Shortly after the divorce was finalized, my relationship with my girlfriend began to evolve. What started as a friendship and mutual support system turned into something more. At first it resembled a casual arrangement, but over time, it deepened into something genuine. Would I be here if I hadn't connected with her? Maybe, maybe not. I was in a dark place and she helped pull me out. In a way, she saved my life. And I'll never forget that. Now, I constantly check in with my kids to make sure they're adjusting well. I've told them openly that if they ever feel uncomfortable about my new relationship, they can tell me. I'll listen. I won't be hurt. I don't want them to bottle things up and carry emotional baggage into their own adult lives. My 10-year-old son absolutely adores my girlfriend. My 15-year-old daughter, she's a bit more cautious. She says she wants me to be happy and won't interfere, but I told her it's okay to have feelings, good or bad. She says she's fine, she just needs time. And I'll give it to her. That's where we are now. The drama's not over, but the chaos has calmed. I'm learning how to breathe again, how to trust, how to let go. Over the last several months, we've had countless meaningful conversations with the children, my son, my daughter, and my girlfriend's 2 daughters. About what healthy relationships look like. These weren't superficial talks. They were deep, continuous, and necessary dialogues, shaped by the emotional challenges they've been exposed to and the healing we're all still in the midst of. No one comes out of a storm unchanged, and our children deserve guidance that's steady and compassionate. My daughter in particular has carried a heavier emotional load than I ever wished for her. She's older now, not just in years but in understanding. We've spent long evenings unpacking her thoughts, worries, and disappointments. She's been supportive of my decisions, even when they're difficult to understand completely at her age. But I know deep down she's still trying to process everything. I give her space for that. Meanwhile, my relationship with my partner, the woman formerly known as the other, betrayed spouse, remains discreet and respectful around the children. We've been mindful not to involve them more than necessary. These young hearts are still tender, still adjusting. As adults, we've already endured the consequences of past choices. We're committed to ensuring the children aren't burdened by our romantic decisions. Therapy has been a crucial tool for all of us. Every person involved, yes, even the ex-affair partner, is undergoing individual therapy. It's not a miracle fix, but it offers direction and helps each of us process our unique experiences. This entire situation is far from ordinary. It's complex, sometimes exhausting, but we're all doing the best we can, day by day. Sarah nodded. Still, the most fragile bond remains the one between my daughter and her mother. The damage the affair inflicted on their relationship was profound. My daughter has been candid. She's said she hates her mother. She believes everything that has gone wrong stemmed from her mom's choices. And while I've encouraged her to express herself honestly, I also try to guide her toward grace and understanding, without excusing what was done. There's tension whenever it's her mother's week. She disengages from hugs, rolls her eyes at affection, and once even cursed at her. I stepped in immediately, not to protect my ex, but to protect my daughter from the corrosive effects of unresolved anger. I reminded her that respect must be upheld, even when emotions are raw. She listened, but the wound remains. The arguments between them are frequent. They often leave both parties drained. My ex is genuinely trying to make things right, but the distance between them can feel insurmountable. She recently asked me to assist in repairing the connection. Her argument is that because I initiated the divorce, I share some responsibility for helping our daughter navigate the fallout. I could throw the affair in her face. I could walk away from the emotional labor she's asking of me. But I won't. This isn't about her anymore. It's about our child. And my role as a father hasn't ended just because the marriage did. Still, the worries linger. My daughter's respect for her mother has eroded, deeply. She wishes for a time before the chaos, unaware of the quiet suffering I endured. Despite therapy, I question whether she's truly healing. I fear she's internalizing powerlessness, thinking life happens to her, not for her. I worry she's repressing her discomfort with my new relationship out of fear of upsetting me. And most haunting of all, I wonder if I shattered her foundation of stability by divorcing her mother. If you've faced something similar, if you've seen a child become collateral in the collapse of a marriage, please share your wisdom. I'm open to learning. As for those curious about my current state of being, truthfully, I'm doing better than I imagined I could. My relationship with my partner is flourishing. It's something I never thought I'd experience. Love without conditions, mutual respect without fear, companionship without manipulation. She's intuitive, patient, and deeply kind. After years of feeling like I was constantly coming up short, she makes me feel seen, like I matter. Do I plan to remarry? Honestly, no. Not now, maybe never. But she understands that. We're not building a life based on social contracts or checklists. We're building it on trust and healing. We've slowly introduced our relationship to the children, carefully and mindfully. They've adapted better than we hoped, thanks in large part to open conversations and emotional consistency. They know they're loved by all 4 adults in their lives, no matter how tangled our pasts may be. A moment that stayed with me happened just recently. My partner's youngest daughter, at a school event, introduced me as her stepdad. I was floored. I didn't expect that kind of affection so soon. When I gently asked her about it later, she smiled and said, "You make Mom happy. That makes me happy." I nearly broke down, but I kept it together. That's what being a steady adult looks like. Even the kids have started forming their own tight-knit little group. They've teamed up to lovingly tease my son, the only boy in the bunch. It's a chaotic kind of joy that fills the house, and though it's exhausting at times, it reminds me why all the struggle was worth it. As for my ex-wife, she's better than she was. She's working on herself. She's still seeing her therapist, focusing on her physical health and, I think, doing some real introspection. But she hasn't let go of the hope that we might one day reconcile. I see it in the way she talks, in the hesitant compliments, in the lingering glances. It won't happen. I've made my peace with that chapter. I forgive her, but I will never go back. The future? It's not a fairy tale, but it's honest. It's built on hard-earned clarity and the resilience of choosing growth over bitterness. I'm not just surviving. I'm living with purpose, with gratitude, and finally with peace. Ex-wife now engages in more frequent conversations with my partner, the other betrayed spouse, which is something I didn't expect to happen this naturally. Though the communication has grown, there remains a layer of caution. My partner is understandably skeptical toward my ex, and frankly, I think that skepticism is warranted. After everything we've endured, trust isn't something handed out freely. It's earned, slowly, if ever. As for Ohm, he's a complete lost cause. I underestimated just how clueless he really was. All that money, all that status, and yet he has the emotional intelligence of a brick wall. He's found himself a new girlfriend, but the irony is hard to ignore. His own children can't stand her. They're not quiet about their disdain either. From what I've seen and heard, she's cold, entitled, and seems more interested in flashing wealth than connecting with those kids. She strikes me as self-absorbed and indifferent to their emotional needs, which only further highlights how unfit OM is as a partner or a father. All in all, despite the chaos of the past, we're doing far better than I ever imagined. It's not a fairy tale ending, but it's real happiness, hard-earned, and deeply appreciated.